The door flew open with a crash that echoed through the small suburban house in suburban Chicago, and Ophelia's father charged in, his face twisted in rage. "You freak!" he roared, his fist connecting with her jaw before she could even scramble back on the bed where she and Kaya had been kissing just moments ago. Kaya froze, her eyes wide with terror, as Ophelia crumpled to the floor, blood trickling from her lip, the shock ripping through her like a blade. How could this happen? How could her secret life shatter in an instant? Ophelia's mind reeled as her father grabbed her by the collar, hauling her up. Why now? She thought, the pain in her face nothing compared to the storm inside. She had been so careful, sneaking Kaya in through the basement window after midnight. Their love a hidden sanctuary in a world that would never understand. But someone must have seen, must have told him. Her father, a man who prided himself on his conservative values, his church-going image, now saw her as an abomination. "You're disgusting," he snarled, shoving her against the wall. "Bringing this shame into my house." Kaya, still on the bed, pulled her knees to her chest, whispering, "Mr. Reynolds, please." But her voice was barely audible, her fear paralyzing her. Ophelia wanted to scream at Kaya to help, to stand up for them, but the words stuck in her throat. Instead, she thought, is this the end? Is our love worth this agony? The beating continued, punches landing on her arms as she shielded her face, her father's words a barrage of hatred. "I raised you better than this. You're no daughter of mine." Each blow fueled her internal turmoil, guilt for hiding, anger at the world for making her hide, and a deep, aching fear that Kaya would abandon her now. Kaya, her girlfriend of 2 years, the one who made her feel whole in a society that labeled them wrong. They had met in college, 2 young women navigating their identities in secret, their relationship a mix of joy and constant anxiety. But now, as her father dragged her toward the door, Ophelia glanced back at Kaya, pleading silently for support. Kaya averted her eyes, murmuring, "I'm sorry." And that whisper cut deeper than any punch. Betrayal, Ophelia thought. It's already starting. How can she just sit there? Thrown out onto the porch, Ophelia landed hard on the concrete, the night air cold against her bruised skin. Her father slammed the door, yelling, "Don't come back until you've fixed yourself." She lay there for a moment, stars spinning above, her mind a whirlwind of questions. What now? Where do I go? Kaya emerged minutes later, slipping out quietly, her face pale. "Ophelia, I can't. My family if they find out." Ophelia's heart shattered. "You promised we'd face this together," she whispered, her voice breaking. Kaya shook her head, tears streaming. "It's too much. I love you, but I can't lose everything." And with that, Kaya walked away into the darkness, leaving Ophelia alone on the steps, the weight of abandonment crushing her spirit. Why did I trust her? Ophelia wondered, the pain of loss mingling with the physical aches. Society's judgment had won, and she was the casualty. The next days blurred into a haze of survival. Ophelia crashed on a friend's couch, her body bruised, her soul fractured. She replayed the night endlessly, her father's fury, Kaya's cowardice. Was loving Kaya a mistake? The internal conflict gnawed at her. Part of her understood Kaya's fear, the societal pressure that made coming out a risk to jobs, family, everything. But another part seethed with resentment. She had sacrificed so much, hiding her true self for years, only to be betrayed by the one person who knew her completely. Calls to Kaya went unanswered, texts ignored. Ophelia thought, maybe she's right, maybe we're better apart. But the loneliness was overwhelming, a constant reminder of the Malfwan Dao Duk. She loved a woman in a world that condemned it, and now she paid the price. Weeks turned into months. Ophelia found a job at a coffee shop in the city, far from her family's judgmental gaze. The customers' casual homophobia, jokes about those people, stung, but she buried it deep. Internal monologues became her companion. Am I the freak he called me? Is there something wrong with me? She attended support groups, hearing stories of others facing similar rejections, the AP Luke Gia din that tore lives apart. It fueled her resolve to rebuild. But the scar of Kaya's betrayal lingered. One night she saw Kaya on social media, smiling in photos with a man, and the knife twisted again. She's moving on, pretending, Ophelia thought. The pain pushed her to date others, but nothing stuck. The trust was gone. Years passed, the incident a shadow that shaped her. Ophelia moved to New York, built a career in graphic design, surrounded by a community that accepted her. But the internal battles persisted. Doubts about her worth, anger at her father who never reached out, and a lingering ache for Kaya. She wondered if forgiveness was possible, or if some wounds were too deep. The decision to cut ties with her past had cost her family, but it saved her sanity. Yet, in quiet moments she questioned, was leaving the right choice, or did I let hate win? Ophelia stared at her phone, the message from an unknown number glowing in the dim light of her apartment. It's Kaya. I need to talk. Her heart pounded, a mix of fury and curiosity surging through her. 8 years since that night, 8 years of building walls around her heart, and now this? What could she possibly want? Ophelia thought, the old wounds reopening like they had never healed. She typed back, "Why now?" The response came quick. "I'm in trouble. Please." They met in a quiet cafe in Manhattan, Ophelia arriving early to steel herself. Kaya walked in looking older, worn, her eyes shadowed by exhaustion. "Thank you for coming," Kaya said, her voice trembling. Ophelia sat rigid, her mind racing. "You left me bleeding on those steps. How dare you ask for help?" But she said nothing, waiting. Kaya explained, her words tumbling out. After leaving Ophelia, she had tried to fix herself, marrying a man from her church, having a son named Ethan. "I thought it would make everything normal," Kaya confessed, tears welling. "But it was a lie. I was miserable, hiding who I am." Ophelia's internal storm raged. Part of her empathized, the societal pressure that pushed Kaya into denial, the fear of being labeled a freak like she had been. But the betrayal burned. "You abandoned me," Ophelia said flatly. "When my father beat me, you walked away." Kaya nodded, shame etched on her face. "I was scared. My family threatened to disown me. I chose safety over us." The admission hung heavy, a mouth Wandao Duk laid bare. Kaya's choice to conform had cost them both, but now she paid the price. Her marriage had crumbled when she came out, her husband taking custody battles to ugly places, calling her unfit because of her sexuality. As Kaya spoke, Ophelia thought about her own journey, the therapy sessions grappling with trauma, the relationships that failed because of trust issues. She had found stability, a partner briefly, but ended it when old fears resurfaced. "And now?" Ophelia asked. Kaya lowered her head. "I'm losing Ethan. The court says I'm unstable. He's 5 and he needs a home." The plea was clear, "Help me." But Ophelia wondered, why should I? You've never apologized until you needed something. The tension built, their conversation a tightrope of emotions. Days later, Ophelia lay awake, debating. Helping Kaya meant facing the past, risking more hurt. But refusing meant letting a child suffer the same rejection she had known. The moral dilemma tore at her. Forgiveness versus self-protection. Society's kin still loomed. Lesbian women seen as threats to normal families. She recalled her father's words, the way they echoed in courtrooms across America. "Am I strong enough to fight this?" she thought. Ophelia decided to meet Ethan, accompanying Kaya to a park. The boy was small, with Kaya's eyes shy but curious. "Are you Mommy's friend?" he asked. Ophelia smiled, her heart softening despite herself. Inside she battled. "This child is innocent, but helping means reopening doors I slammed shut." Kaya watched, hopeful, but Ophelia kept her distance, testing the waters. The custody hearing approached, Kaya begging Ophelia to testify as a character witness. "You know me better than anyone," Kaya said. Ophelia hesitated, the internal conflict peaking. Testifying meant admitting their past love, exposing herself to judgment. But silence meant betraying her own values. "I'll do it," she finally said, the decision a heavy weight. "Why am I doing this? For her or for me?" In court, Ophelia took the stand, her voice steady despite the churning inside. "Kaya is a good person who made mistakes under pressure," she said, avoiding the full truth of their relationship to protect Ethan. The judge listened, but the ex-husband's lawyer probed. "Isn't it true you two were involved romantically?" Ophelia froze, the room spinning, admitting it could harm Kaya's case, reinforcing stereotypes. She glanced at Kaya, seeing the fear, and thought, this is the price of our love, constant battles. The ruling came, joint custody, but Kaya struggled. her depression deepening. Ophelia found herself stepping in more, picking Ethan up from school, cooking meals. It was unintended, but the boy's trust grew. Aunt Ophelia, he called her, though she wasn't. Inside, she questioned, am I falling into a trap? Or is this redemption? One night, Kaya broke down, admitting, I can't do this alone. Ophelia held her, the touch stirring old feelings, but she pushed them away. This isn't about us, she thought. It's about him. The sacrifice was clear. Her peace for his future. Ethan's laughter filled the apartment as Ophelia chased him around the living room, pretending to be a monster. It had been 6 months since the court decision, and Kaya's downward spiral had worsened. Missed visits, late nights out, whispers of alcohol. Ophelia had taken Ethan in temporarily, but it felt permanent. Why me? She thought, the responsibility a double-edged sword. She loved the boy, his innocence a balm to her scars, but it meant constant reminders of Kaya, the woman who had shattered her. Kaya showed up unannounced one evening, reeking of whiskey. I need money, she slurred. Ophelia blocked the door, Ethan playing in the background. You're not seeing him like this. Kaya's eyes flashed with anger. He's my son. The confrontation escalated, Kaya's words cutting deep. You always thought you were better, the strong one. Ophelia recoiled, her mind screaming. After all I've done this? The betrayal resurfaced, layered with new hurt. She had sacrificed her quiet life, facing judgmental neighbors who whispered about the lesbian raising a kid. The argument peaked when Kaya shouted, You stole him from me. Ophelia snapped back. You threw him away just like you threw me away. Ethan peeked out, scared, and Ophelia scooped him up, soothing him. Inside, the turmoil boiled. Is this the price of forgiveness? Kaya stormed off, leaving Ophelia to ponder the moral quagmire. Helping had turned into enabling, but abandoning Ethan wasn't an option. Ophelia sought legal advice, her lawyer warning, this could get ugly. Courts favor biological parents. The internal debate raged. Fight for custody or hand him back to instability. Society's bias against queer guardians loomed, stories of lost children haunting her. Am I selfish for wanting to keep him safe? She wondered. Her friends urged caution, but her heart pulled toward protection. A call from Kaya's ex-husband complicated things. I hear you're raising my son, he said, voice laced with disdain. That's not right. Ophelia defended. He's happy here. But the threat was clear. Another battle. The pressure mounted, echoing her father's rejection. Family values twisted against her. Why must I prove my worth constantly? She thought. Ethan's questions added to the drama. Where's Mommy? He asked one night. Ophelia hugged him, saying, She's trying her best. But inside, resentment festered. Kaya's choices had forced this role on her. The sacrifice was immense. Her career stalled, social life dwindled. Yet, seeing Ethan thrive, learning to read, his hugs full of trust, made it bearable. Is this my atonement for surviving? Or her punishment? Kaya reappeared weeks later, sober, begging forgiveness. I hit bottom, she said. Help me get clean. Ophelia wavered, the old love flickering. For Ethan, she agreed, but set boundaries. The rehabilitation process was tense, Kaya moving in temporarily, the air thick with unspoken words. Ophelia thought, can I trust her again? The proximity stirred conflicts, moments of tenderness mixed with arguments over past hurts. One heated exchange. You left me to die that night, Ophelia accused. Kaya cried, I was weak. But I loved you. The admission hung a turning point. Ophelia pondered. Love isn't enough. Actions matter. But seeing Kaya fight for sobriety, for Ethan, softened her. As months passed, Kaya improved but relapsed once, hiding a bottle. Ophelia discovered it, fury erupting. Get out. The damage was done, trust shattered anew. Ethan clung to Ophelia, crying, and she realized the boy saw her as his anchor. The decision crystallized. File for guardianship. It was a betrayal to Kaya, but a salvation for Ethan. The moral weight crushed her. Am I right to take him, or am I no better than my father, judging her? The court date loomed, Ophelia preparing testimony, her mind a battlefield of doubt and resolve. The courtroom was sterile, the judge's gaze piercing as Ophelia sat on the witness stand, her hands clasped to hide the tremble. Kaya across the room looked defeated, her eyes pleading. Why do you believe you're better suited to raise Ethan? The lawyer asked. Ophelia swallowed, thinking, because I've paid the price she hasn't. I've provided stability, she said. Kaya struggles and Ethan needs consistency. The words felt like a knife, betraying the woman she once loved, but the truth demanded it. Kaya's testimony followed, tearful admissions of addiction, promises of change. I love my son, she said. But the evidence, missed visits, police reports, painted a grim picture. Ophelia watched, internal agony twisting. This is what her betrayal led to. Years ago, Kaya's abandonment had forced Ophelia to rebuild alone. Now, roles reversed, Ophelia held the power. The Mouthwandau Duck nod. Vengeance or justice? Outside, supporters gathered. Ophelia's community versus Kaya's family, echoing societal divides. Whispers of unnatural stung, reminding her of the din kin that had scarred her life. Why must my love make me suspect? She thought. Ethan's future hung in the balance, his drawings of family including Ophelia. The ruling granted Ophelia temporary guardianship, with supervised visits for Kaya. Relief washed over her but guilt followed. Kaya confronted her after. You took him from me. Ophelia replied. You gave him up long ago. The words were harsh, the damage irreversible. Inside, Ophelia questioned. Have I become the monster taking what isn't mine? Life with Ethan settled into routine, school runs, bedtime stories. He thrived but asked about Kaya constantly. Ophelia encouraged contact, but Kaya's visits were sporadic, her recovery faltering. One day Kaya called. I'm checking into rehab for good. Ophelia felt a spark of hope, but wariness dominated. Do it for you, she said. The conversation stirred old emotions, pity, residual love. Can people change, or is damage permanent? She wondered. Society's eyes remained on them, neighbors gossiping, school parents judging. Ophelia faced it head-on, attending pride events with Ethan, teaching him acceptance. But the internal toll was high, nightmares of her father's beating, fears of losing Ethan. The sacrifice defined her. Personal freedom traded for motherhood. Kaya returned months later, clean, determined. I want to be part of his life, she said. Ophelia agreed to co-parenting talks, the tension palpable. We need to address us, Kaya added. Ophelia shook her head. That's gone. The rejection was her armor, but inside doubt lingered. What if we could heal together? Conflicts arose, disagreements over Ethan's upbringing, Kaya's family interfering with homophobic remarks. He's confused living with you, Kaya's mother said. Ophelia fired back. He's loved. The confrontations escalated, testing her resolve. Am I fighting for him or against them? Ethan's birthday brought a climax. Kaya arrived with gifts, but argued with Ophelia over plans. You act like you're his mother, Kaya shouted. Ethan overheard, running to Ophelia. Don't fight. The moment broke her, realizing the cost to him. We must do better, she thought. They sought mediation, hashing out pains, the beating, the abandonment, the addiction. Tears flowed, truths exposed. Kaya admitted. I was wrong to leave you. Ophelia whispered. I forgive you, but I can't forget. The food for thought. Forgiveness as a choice, not erasure. As time healed edges, they found uneasy peace. Ethan the bridge. Ophelia reflected. The price was high, but worth it? Ethan graduated high school. Ophelia watching from the audience, pride swelling as he crossed the stage. 18 years since taking him in, and the boy had become a young man, kind, open-minded, unaffected by the storms that shaped his life. Kaya sat beside her. Their relationship evolved into cautious friendship, the past a shared scar. But inside, Ophelia still grappled. Was all the pain necessary for this moment? Looking back, the decisions haunted her. Choosing to raise Ethan had meant endless battles. Court fights, societal scorn, personal sacrifices. Her career plateaued, relationships fizzled, all for him. Yet, seeing him thrive, advocating for LGBTQ rights in his speech, validated it. Did I choose right? Or did fate force my hand? She thought. Kaya turned to her after. Thank you. For everything. Ophelia nodded, the words bittersweet. Their love had been destroyed by fear, rebuilt as something else, co-parents, survivors. The betrayal's shadow lingered, but time had softened it. Society had changed too, slowly marriage's legal acceptance growing, but the old wounds reminded her of the cost. Ethan hugged them both, whispering, "You two saved me." Ophelia's heart ached with joy and regret. The internal awakening came late. Love in all forms demands sacrifice, and she had paid dearly. In quiet reflection, Ophelia pondered the journey. The beating that started it, the choices that defined it. Forgiveness had been her hardest battle. The moral ambiguity her constant companion. Was it right to forgive betrayal when it leads to greater good? Or should some wrongs remain unforgiven to protect the self?